Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, William Shatner appeared at the San Diego Comic-Con and he had a few things to say. A few things which have gotten quite a bit of attention in the media. They weren't a whole conversation, they weren't the whole panel, they were just a few comments, but they were quite memorable. Now, Kevin Smith was moderating the panel, so he was there. He asked Mr. Shatner to address the fans of that other major science fiction fantasy, Star Wars. And Shatner quipped, F Star Wars. But not Mark Hamill, because we love Mark Hamill, of course. I mean, I do. A lot of fans don't because he's not right-wing, so they have to automatically hate him just because that's the nature of the tribal sort of situation that we have in America at the moment. And Smith agreed, we love Mark Hamill. I can't believe I disagreed with Kevin Smith, but Mark Hamill, we love him. Then he asked, I was asked by a fan, I thought he was asked by Kevin Smith, I'm just reading this from an interview, I think it was from Hollywood Reporter. When asked by a fan if there were any new Star Trek series he thought rivaled his own, Shatner replied, none of them. True. None of the new shows rival the original Star Trek. Next Gen did, and that's about it. Nothing has really rivaled it since then. Strange New Worlds is okay. Discovery was totally wrong, and Picard was just totally off. So I have to agree with him there. Glad he said it, because everyone else is acting like it's the greatest thing ever. Shatner's the only Star Trek fan, I think, Star Trek star, I think, who's actually said anything remotely true about the new era of Star Trek. I think Marina Sirtis had a little bit to say before she got on the show, but yeah, she wasn't specifically saying anything about Discovery. I think it was just in general. He also added, I got to know creator Gene Roddenberry in 3 years fairly well. He said he'd be turning in his grave at some of this stuff. So I feel the same way. I really believe in Gene Roddenberry's vision. I believe in the Star Trek he created. It means a lot to me on a philosophical level. And the idea of what they've done to Star Trek, they've taken out the optimism, they've taken out the utopian future, they've made it cynical, they've brought it down to our times and our sort of issues and reduced it to something less because it was too difficult for smaller-minded people to comprehend and appreciate. So instead of just making it for the minority of intelligent species, they dumbed it down for the majority of, our species. So I'm glad someone said something. So as much as I don't personally like William Shatner, I've met him and he was an absolute a-hole and he's very rude to me and I was rude back and it was a fairly ugly couple of moments. But I knew that about him. I mean, I find it funny because he was talking about the importance of his, how important fans have been to his career because he's just doing a documentary about himself, of course. And I find it interesting that so many fans love him. They love him because he's very conservative and a bit right-wing when it comes down to it. But he didn't always like the fans. I mean, hello, have we forgotten his famous Saturday Night Live skit where he basically told fans to get a life? That wasn't a joke. That's how he felt. He despised Star Trek fans and he didn't even like Star Trek for a while because he had an absolute career death after Star Trek for a good 5 to 10 years. Wasn't really until a bit before Star Trek the Motion Picture where he started to get himself together. He literally ended up in a trailer. And he hated Star Trek for a while. And then it really was just about money. I don't think he had any respect for fans. He didn't have any appreciation or knowledge. Something happened at some point about 10 years ago. He actually started to look at Star Trek differently. He did a documentary about Star Trek and he seemed to have a few revelations now why these came to him so late in life after basically being fairly disrespectful and condescending to the franchise for a good 30, maybe 40 years. I don't know, maybe he just got less relevant and he realised just how much it was going to be his bread and butter in his later decades, as it has been. I'm not sure. Has been. Yeah, I find it really funny that these fans he's happy to forget that and forgive that if he's actually on their side now, and that's how tribalism works. Shatner's one of them, and they will defend him no matter what. I hate Shatner, but I agree with what he said. So yeah, I had to comment on it. I'm glad he said it because no one else is saying what we know about Discovery and Picard, that they were awful, they've abandoned Gene Roddenberry's vision, and Gene would be spinning in his grave. When I heard what they were doing to the Federation and Starfleet in the third season of Discovery, I pretty much cried. It really broke my heart. And the idea that they did that to his creation, another artist's creation, it really upset me. So I do think he would be spinning in his grave for what they did. And yeah, I'm glad someone said it who's actually going to be listened to, because no one listens to me, no one listens to the fans. They just dismiss us and call us racist when our complaints about Discovery and Picard have nothing to do with race or sexism or anything like that. So that's just a blanket thing they use, so they don't have to listen to people. Well, some people, because there are some people, of course, who are racist and sexist who watch Star Trek and somehow don't get the irony of that, because they didn't get the show. They only saw it on a superficial level of aliens and, hot chicks making out with Shatner and Captain Kirk, basically. That's the level they took the series as. So, yeah. But I'm going to go. I wasn't going to let this go over 6 minutes. I wanted to keep it to 5 minutes, but I've failed. But I'm not doing it again, partly because my voice is going. And, yep. Thank you, Mr. Shatner. Be nicer to the fans, please, in future. That's all I want to say. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.